about it by watching documentaries on it, and you can't discuss it. You have to like physically be there and touch the ground. And then meanwhile, as people pointed out, Douglas Murray was going on like these Israeli government Zionist pre-approved propaganda tours, and he thinks like, I'm definitely getting the truth this way. And so anyway, Douglas Murray largely humiliated himself, but it's kind of weird because he's kind of pretending that the internet reaction wasn't what it was, and he's doing he went on the BBC to talk about what happened, and he went on Maher, and he talked to Bill Maher about what happened. So let's watch, and then I have a lot to say about this. My conclusion on this might be a little bit different from what other people have been saying. Here we go.
Like us do, who recognize this as a big problem on the left, but also recognize the horrible stuff that's going on the right. I mean, you were on Joe Rogan a couple of days ago, a week ago, something like that. Got a lot of press, and I'm glad you said what you said, which is, I mean, I like Joe, but he has on people who entertain these crazy conspiracy theories and doesn't really push back on them. It's okay to have, I mean, I'm a free speech absolutist pretty much, but there seems to be no pushback on this. And of course, what's going on in this country, what we're going to probably be talking about here on the panel in a minute, this kind of encroaching fascism. I mean, I was using the term slow-moving coup before he got elected the first time.
So let me just point out before Douglas responds, Daryl Cooper was one of the points that Douglas Murray made. He brought up this guy Daryl Cooper, who's like this amateur historian who read David Irving's book and other stuff, Pat Buchanan stuff, and he was on Rogan's show, and we did a segment on this. We titled it like the Joe Rogan Nazi apologist experience or something, because this guy is just a Nazi. Right? He masks it sometimes, he plays cutesy with it sometimes, but he really is just a Nazi. He had that famous quote saying that Churchill was the chief villain of World War II. But apart from that, he's had some like direct tweets that kind of admit. He put up a picture of like drag queens doing the opening ceremony at the Olympics and put up a picture of the Nazis in France because the Olympics were in France that year. And he goes, this picture is far more preferable in every imaginable way to this picture. So in other words, it's better to live under Nazi rule than have drag queens. Yeah, you're a Nazi, right? Like, I don't know what you again, you might try to hide it. You might try to play cutesy with it. You might try to soften it or whatever. But it is what it is. You're a Nazi. And so this is kind of the point Maher's making is like, you have on guys like that and you act like he's giving you the real history, the objective history, and you don't push back. And so, yeah, you are, purposefully or not, sending your audience down a pipeline where, like, next thing you know, they're going to be doing outright Holocaust denial, right? And so on that point, I think Maher's actually correct. And I think that criticism of Rogan, I think, is absolutely valid.
It's always interesting to see what happens at the point of victory. What do you do with your victory? And if those people on the American right who are now in the ascendant, if they decide that they want to use their point of victory to, for instance, lie about the origins of the Russia-Ukraine war, or lie about the nature of Hamas, or lie about the state of Israel, or lie about history. I mean, the reason I did this pushback is, I mean, you just have to. I mean, you just have to, in my view. It's basic social hygiene. If you've got somebody who's coming along who pretends to be a historian, who then can always do the thing of saying, oh, I actually don't call myself a historian, it's just other people I allow to call me a historian. I'm not a car mechanic, but if I kept on being introduced as a car mechanic, I would say, oh, no, you got the wrong guy. So they don't mind it. They don't mind it. They have this slip out. These people that I was trying to call out on Joe's show, they are doing things like Hitler wasn't that much of an anti-Semite.
True. That literally Daryl Cooper made that argument. And then he got fact-checked into oblivion in the community notes where there was like, here's a direct quote from Hitler before the Holocaust, giving a speech saying the problem is the Jews and we're going to... And Joe genuinely doesn't see it with Daryl Cooper. He really, oh no, you're smearing him, you're strawmanning him. And it's like, how many direct quotes do you have to see when he lets the fucking mask slip and he says what he really thinks before you go, oh, the guy's a fucking crank and a Nazi? And Joe doesn't see it, and he still won't see it. It doesn't matter. I could give you a long compilation of all of the evidence that this man is a fucking Nazi. And Joe will go, no, he's not, bro. He's just like interesting different historical narratives, and those different historical narratives actually are just nuanced, and really he agrees overall with what everybody else thinks, but he just wants to give you these interesting different facts about how Hitler actually wasn't all that anti-Semitic. And it's like, shut the fuck up. Like, just shut the fuck up, Joe. Like, he can't see the plain face reading. And this is why, for example, what is the fucking fight that's going on with, like, you got, like, these archaeologists fighting on his show, a real one named Flint Dibble, and then the Graham Hancock, who's a fucking fraud, and he takes the side of the fraud because he doesn't fucking know anything. He doesn't know anything. Joe is all about vibes. If you give him the right vibes, I'm on your side. If he doesn't like the vibes, oh, fuck this person. And he could just be wrong. Case in point, fucking COVID. He doesn't know his ass from his elbow. I remember when he did the podcast with Bill Burr and Joe started going down some COVID denialism bullshit rabbit hole. And Bill Burr goes, really, Joe? We're going to sit here and talk about this? Me with no medical degree and you with no medical degree and we know better than the CDC? And it's just like he used to be really curious about stuff, like a childlike curiosity in a positive way. And then at some point along the line, he became a fucking Fox News grandpa who's immensely married to his idiotic conspiracy beliefs and his far-right beliefs. It is what it is. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, and he pretends like he does.
The main problem in the 20th century was Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill was the warmonger. Adolf Hitler wanted peace. And look, it's a matter of social hygiene. Don't feed me this shit. And this is all... And there's obviously this crossover between the people who are just trolls. They say this because they think it's really fun to do the Jewish question, to do like a bit of Holocaust denial, a bit of Hitler praise, a bit of Churchill degradation. They think it's kind of funny. What they're watering and what's going to come up underneath them are going to be people who believe this rot. And a lot of people, you can clearly see on the right at the moment, are very happy if you can denigrate the tradition of Winston Churchill and pretend that Adolf Hitler wasn't so bad, because then you can do things like Christian nationalism. You can do really, really tough nationalist stuff. They basically...
And buy Kanye albums.
That's the last stage. That's like the ultimate. After they've absolved Adolf Hitler, they want to absolve Kanye, and then they're going to get to the point of hell.
Right. Well, it's a great book. Everybody should read it. Thank you.
So now, okay, so far to this point, I've largely been trashing Rogan and explaining how the core of the overarching point from Douglas Murray here is actually correct about Joe. And the game he plays, I'm not that powerful, I'm just a comedian, but also I control millions of people, and that's why I endorse Trump, and actually what we say matters, and we're like the new media, right? But here's where it all falls apart, unfortunately, is Douglas Murray is the last motherfucker on earth who can make this point to anybody. For those of you who don't know, he is a ultra Zionist, and he is the most brazen and loud and pathetic genocide denier when it comes to Palestine, when it comes to Gaza. This is one of those fucking assholes who still pretends like the mass murder of innocent men, women, and children is actually just Israel being really careful and only going after the Hamas militants. I'm not kidding. Nobody has ever been more wrong about anything in human history than Douglas Murray is on the issue of Israel and Palestine. He is full on just choking on the Israeli Hasbara cock on a daily basis. Just everything Netanyahu says. He's all about that bullshit. So I watched, by the way, don't torture yourself with this, but I did it for you. I watched the entire podcast. And like I said, it was very infuriating for me because the overall critique of Douglas Murray about Rogan and the Rogan sphere is correct. They do play this game where it's like, no, I'm just a comedian. No, we're just talking shit. No, we're just boys. But then they also wield this massive power in a way where he has Trump on and he has J.D. Vance on and he endorses them and he sucks off the robber barons and he actually plays a serious role in our politics and he has more sway than anybody on CNN or fucking MSNBC or whatever the fuck, right? So he's right about that. And he's right about, like, you have on these fucking COVID fringe freaks and you got convinced of that and now you don't have anybody with the mainstream and correct opinion. Right about that too, although I think Douglas Murray is also wrong about COVID. So, my point is, he is not the one to make the criticism. Because I have no doubt, Douglas Murray, he would, if he had his own platform, he would obviously only bring on people who have his position on Israel and Gaza. And I would say, you're the one with the freak fringe position, which is dangerous in that scenario. Right? So, he's not the one to make the criticism. He can't make the criticism. Because it all falls apart for him because he is guilty of the thing that he's accusing Joe of being guilty of. He's guilty of the thing of we need only more experts and people who are sober and reality-based. And it's like, hey, asshole, you've been denying Amnesty International and the United Nations and every human rights group under the sun when they tell you this is a genocide, this is an ethnic cleansing, they've killed at least 50,000 people, over 90% of which are civilians, carpet bombing babies and starving them to death. And you look at that and swat it aside and be like, that doesn't count. It's like